Tired of coffee that just wakes you up and then drops you off like your ex's emotional baggage? Meet Mystic Monkey, the deluxe mushroom coffee from Monkey Werx. Dark roast? Check. Chocolate and caramel notes? Oh yeah. Organic lion's mane and chaga mushrooms? You bet your brain it does. This isn't your grandma's mushroom soup. This is high performance, brain boosting, gut loving, smooth sipping jungle juice. Feel sharp? Stay chill, and maybe, just maybe, unlock the secrets of the universe. Or at least remember where you left your keys. Mystic Monkey. Brew it, sip it, transcend your to-do list. Only at monkeywerx.com. Works for the soul.
All right. Hey, welcome, folks. Going to be your SITREP at 7/1/2025. Coming to you live here from the Monkey Lounge in the great state of Texas. And so we're going to get into the deets today of what's going on over the United States. I'm telling you, we are quietly on high alert. I'm going to show you the flights to back that up. All right. There are a sea of recon and intel, and they have been up nonstop. We're not hearing a lot out of our bureaus. You know, they've come out and said a couple things that would indicate that they are definitely concerned, but they're not really publicizing things. I think it's because they don't want to tip their hat to what they're watching. And it makes you a little bit nervous when you see the skies, because I will tell you, it is very active and there is a significant uptick. But we're going to get into those details. But you've got, DHS issuing a bulletin that says heightened domestic alert through September, right? CISA, the FBI, DC3, and the NSA urge critical infrastructure to stay vigilant amid the Iranian-linked cyber threats. Okay, and then DHS is warned of potential low-level cyber attacks, urges vigilance at home to the public, okay, for your home devices. The big concerns, I think, are really the cyber attack side, because as you can see, just watching the world today, it's very easy for them to get into a system and knock it offline. You've got issues with dams and power grids and all kinds of different things. So we're going to get into some of the other stories. I'm not going to go deep into, the Russia. We'll look at some flights because there are some interesting ones, and what's going on with Iran and everything else. But we're going to kind of focus on the home front. But again, it'll be a little broad brush. There are tons and tons of news. This could be a 3-hour show with all the news articles out there of what's happening in the world right now. So definitely a time to be on your toes and stay frosty, okay? All right, let me take us over here first and foremost. I want to show you, before I get into, I'm going to show you this article, and then I'm going to show you, we'll get into the flights, because this kind of sets the stage, all right? So this top Iranian cleric issues a fatwa calling for all Muslims to seek vengeance on the U.S. and Israel. So this guy, this old dude here, is basically green lighting everybody abroad to start attacking us, okay? So, when you're coming up on the 4th of July, it is a very big event across the United States, and there are a lot of people that are going to be looking up during that event. They're not going to be paying attention to the surroundings, and it is a prime soft target environment, okay? So let's just look at the skies. Now, you see currently right here, all of these yellow circles, okay, these are going to be ISR. A lot of these are going to be balloons, the high flyers. All right, you can see these. This one's at 80,000, 61,000, well above commercial traffic. All right, but that's this side of the U.S. Okay, I'm sure there's stuff over here that we're just not seeing. It's not showing online right now. I would imagine that probably 90% of the United States is covered up with some type of intelligence gathering right now. But the fact is, notice it's the left half of the U.S. When I start to show you all of the intel flights, that's going to support the same theory. This is the area they're watching. Right, we're going to also look at what the feds are doing. Okay, I've got agency boys flying around. We've got the FBI doing some things, and we're going to look at some things that they're not doing, which is a little concerning to me. So let's just start kind of peeling this back. Again, first and foremost, we'll look at H-60s. All right, so these are going to be your, as we say, the 60s. I'm slowly transitioning you into that, and myself, dropping the H. All right, these are Blackhawks. And this area here can sometimes be training activity, but up the East Coast, you can see they're fairly active. We got 41 up Our average is 6 to 8, so it is definitely an uptick. Again, I've stripped the trainers out, so all of the other training helicopters, et cetera, are not showing. And then we've got, look at the air refuelers. You got 21, 18 on screen here. You can see coast to coast. They're over Florida, all the way down along our border. And, of course, that is supporting more than likely fighters or bombers. And let me see if I've got any Bs. Yeah, I've got another 12 of those. Those are going to be your Pegasus. Also, air refuelers, as we call tankers, okay? And you can see now it gets our number to 25. That's our baseline. So 25 is kind of the normal status. I don't see anything that is elevated at this point over the United States from an air refueling perspective. But again, that's a good indicator of fighter activity. And when you see it going across the drink, it's a good indicator of fighter/bomber activity. All right. And we're going to look at that here in just a second. So, all right, let me show you. I just, you'll notice here, right? As I said, everything's kind of focused on the left side of the United States. Now, when I show you the ISR activity, this intel, surveillance, reconnaissance, LaSalle Aviation, the Glex aircraft, look again, same thing. Where is the concentration and focus? Right over the mountains, right? You see that? You get into basically the whole left coast, right? From the center of the U.S., left is where your primary flights are happening. Now, you do see that little circle right there that's probably doing a little man in the middle over Alabama, right? And that little one that's going up north. But look at that, right? Right? You go back over to the map and you see where all the balloons are. And, I mean, for the most part, everything you're seeing on these yellow circles are balloons. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of supports that, right? Last 5 days have been very active over that side. We just had the attack in Idaho. We'll look at that here in just a minute as well. But let's press on. So that's your ISR. Now we go into the drone activity, looking at the U.S., and this is where they kind of go dark. One I do have is you see this little area right here. Okay, that is actually, let me just show you what you're looking at here, because that is not going to be a Q4 drone. That's going to be a Q1 Predator drone. So let me stop that for a second. All right, let me pop this up. And this is going to be, actually, that is your Q1. My bad. I'll hit the regular one here in a second. So what you're looking at here is this right here. It's called a Gray Eagle, and it's got synthetic aperture radar. That means it can see through the clouds day or night. It's got IR capabilities. It's got a ton of capabilities. Now, they come out of Fort Carson, and what we were watching before was activity that was a little bit further south and west of Pueblo, Colorado. All right. So pay attention to that, because that could be something that is important for us to see. Okay. Now let me run this one again. All right. This is going to be your Q4 drones and your Q9s. All right. And I'll take that part away. Now you can see, let me just make sure that I've got the right. Yeah. Let me take that off. There's your Q4. Yeah. Notice the heavy traffic headed into the mountain range again. Right, you can see, up to the West Coast, kind of doing little ISR activity there. The Q9s, right, southern border, again, very heavy flow. And then up here into the Northeast and over DC. So pay attention to this stuff, right? From the U.S. perspective, it has been very, very active. And, when you look at that, the Gray Eagle, right? There is a lot of, there's training activity out there that they do, because they are bringing on new systems, things like they may be augmenting something with like Squad X type of capabilities, but that's Fort Carson, all right? And so if you drill down, you can see there are a lot of flights over the Fort Carson southern side, but the ones that we really were watching were the ones over the last several days, where they were coming all the way down west of Pueblo and kind of into the foothills there. Those flights seem to be wiped. And we did also have some flight activity out here by the same aircraft type in the Gulf of America, working right along the borders. So that tells you they're probably looking at either, drug smugglers or, something that tied to cartel, or maybe even Hezbollah. Okay. All right. Now, we press on. Let me show you what the gray birds are up to. These are going to be your agency boys. And the reason we watch them is because they tend to be out in front of situations. Okay, so they kind of forward deploy some teams in there, maybe some of your operator type skill sets, and just last 5 days. Again, this isn't something I'm grabbing right now today. Now the little yellow ones over there in Southern California, that is they also have an Embraer 120 that they use to take engineers out to Area 51. Right, so see these layers right here. They have developed through Phoenix Air, I guess, would be the company. But they've developed an ISR capability that the agencies are using. So you see that over just north of Denver, all right? And then you can see this one up to the border, right? So we're seeing drones headed that way. We're seeing a lot of different assets that are fanning out across the U.S. But over the last 5 days, the concentration is starting to kind of leak to the left side of the United States. All right, let's continue on. Now take a look at the R135. Sorry, before I hit that, this is actually a picture. This is yesterday midday. We had 4 R135s up running signal intelligence, and then we had the intel balloons up, and you can see again. Very active. This was midday yesterday. Okay, so this is just a still shot. Let me take that away, and then I'm going to take in, let me pull that. We're going to pop up signal intelligence, and I'll just show you this is the last 5 days. You can see some stuff going to Hawaii, Alaska, across the drink. But then look at the layers here. You can see it kind of going out towards the mountains yet again, and then that box. Right now, that box is looking at areas like Idaho, Montana, Wyoming. Right? It's it's layers, so it's multiple flights that they're doing there. And then see this one that kind of just fans out, comes out of MacDill Air Force Base, does a little fly up there into kind of the heart of the Central Plains, Midwest, and one looks like it landed up there, but. Looks like maybe a fuel stop as it went across the drink into Europe. Now, the other thing, too, you can see it kind of doing a little lasso around. All right, comes into the UK, gasses up, and then does a little lasso around Kaliningrad. Right, so continue to watch that. And then we've got one more, nothing over the Middle East. Of course, if you did, they'd probably be hiding it. And a little blip there over Japan. Now, here's your nuke sniffer. And this one just got airborne the other day as well. And a little concerning, okay? It's a constant Phoenix, right? It's looking for nukes somewhere around these areas, but notice it gets right here on the edge of that mountain range again, over Denver, right? Kind of over the base that we looked at with the Q1 activity, et cetera, all right? Okay, now we'll look at the feds, and this is, in fact, we will pull up here in just a second that article, all right, this one here. But let me just show you what the FBI and DOJ have been doing. So this is the last 5 days, okay? Now, I would expect to see something into Boise, Idaho. Not Boise, well, maybe Boise, but something going into Idaho after this ambush we just had. All right, California, right? Nothing, right? Nothing. Now, here's something I find a little bit concerning, and that is the fact that historically, anytime we've had an event, New Orleans, whatever it may be, I watch the Fed flights, the FBI, DOJ going into those locations with teams. The last two, the one that we just had in Boulder, and then, of course, this one in Idaho, nothing. That, to me, tells you something is off, all right? Now, look at this right here. You got Idaho wildfire ambush. So this guy sets fire to the woods, and that draws in first responders. You got firefighters coming in, no armor. These are neutral guys trying to come in to take care of the public. All right, and then you get a sniper attack, kills 2 firefighters, puts I think 8 were wounded or something, puts a bunch of guys in the hospital. Now this, to me, folks, it reeks of a false flag event, right? I mean, reeks of it. Just so many elements tied to this that much like the assassination attempt on Trump, right? Where you just go, oh, who's behind this? Why did we not see the FBI over there? What's going on here, folks? Are they trying to push another agenda? Are they taking our eyes off of something? there's something afoot here. And, again, they're keeping a lid on, the person that was behind it. The media is kind of keeping it really boxed and contained. This right here, it just, the guy is found dead, right? Shoots himself. Did he? Right? They say, well, maybe the police shot him. Did they? Or was it somebody else that actually was working with him that was like, I'll take this guy out. They'll think he killed himself, and then, nobody's going to be looking for anything. But again, I do see DHS is actively monitoring the scene, all right? FBI Deputy Dan Bongino wrote that he has deployed assets to provide tactical or operational support. Again, I don't see any of the FBI flights going in and out of there, all right? Maybe they flew commercial. I don't know. All right, let's get over here to the AWACS, and we'll come back to all of this stuff momentarily. Now, look at over Europe. You'll notice it is you got a couple that are flying into France. You got them going down into, looks like Bahrain, a little bit over Turkey. You get over the United States, I see one that looks to be going across the drink, but that's it. Nothing really over the U.S. except for this right here, which is maybe a little concerning. Remember, this is an advanced warning aircraft out there just kind of flying a little monitoring there over the East Coast, north of Daytona and Jacksonville area, kind of right there off the Florida coastline. All right, that's your AWACS. Okay, let's get into some of the news. Well, actually, before I do that, let me do something else here. I'm going to show you the air refueler activity. This is going to be the last 5 days. I will tell you that, there was some activity with the Russians out around Japan, et cetera. So they may have put some fighters up, and thus the refuelers are around. Look at the traffic or all of the air refuelers pushing right up to the edge of Israel. Again, the last 5 days. You can see them coming out of, looks to be Crete, or at least that general area. You got stuff headed down across the Red Sea, maybe going to Somalia. Probably taking out targets there. And then notice the flights that come in, little thick, heavy chain coming down to the Middle East, out of Europe. Right. A lot of long strings, not marshalling patterns. You see that marshalling pattern right there? That's indicator, they're just flying around. Fighters come in, they do their thing, and then they get gas. When you see the long strands, it's kind of an air bridge, right? They're bringing something over or back. When you get over the United States last 5 days, and you'll notice up the East Coast, crazy busy. Off the West Coast, super busy, a lot of broken traces. All right. Again, last 5 days, very active. And then you'll see headed up to Alaska, and you notice the chain headed across the Atlantic. All right. And then stuff going into Hawaii. All right. That's your air refuelers. Now look at your C-17s, because this tells a story. Yeah, you got stuff going on in the Asian Pacific. The other day, I mentioned the fact that we had seen a train headed southbound to the ports here in Texas that was loaded chock full of Euro camo assets. Looked like maybe a ground strike package, tanks, all kinds of different stuff. Look at the thick traces going into the Middle East and into Ramstein. These are C-17s. They're going to be transporting. So you're talking about supply chain logistics stuff. But pretty big indicator, we are still quietly popping things over, all right? Not taking resources back. I don't think we would do that right now, especially I think this whole Israel-Iran thing, it's definitely got a timeline on it. And I'll show you one article there before we punch out, just so you can kind of get, an eye on what really is kind of transpiring here, okay, with the ceasefire. Okay, so today, July 1st, right, out-of-town pool call. Let's see. He departs south on. All right, so he's headed down to check out Alligator Alcatraz. We'll be talking about that here in just a minute. If you haven't heard of that, pretty interesting, but looks like Trump is headed down south. Let's move on. We talked that one, and then look at this. Iran asked that now. This right here, just insane, all right, that they would even ask this. Iran asked the UN to make the U.S. pay for reparations for bombing its nuclear sites. Yeah, that's not going to happen. So just absolutely crazy. It's the world we're in right now. It's some of the things that you just read, it just go, What are people thinking? Okay, here it is. Alligator Alcatraz, illegal immigrant detention center to open in Florida. That's like a 30-day turn that they're getting this thing going. So this is taking a lot of bad folks. It just goes to show you when you're starting to look at alternate facilities, everything else is at max capacity. You got to have somewhere to store them. And so now they're opening this up. This is in an area that's down in South Florida with a ton of alligators. You're not going to get out of this place and run across the swamp because you're going to get eaten alive. That's basically what this tells you. It's $450 million per year to run it, and it's going to be coming out of the FEMA budget. All right. Again, these people are costing us so much money. You can go thank the previous administration for putting us in this situation. No bueno. Right. And as I mentioned, there's a lot of activity going. We saw arrests happening down in New Orleans and Mississippi. They caught Iranian snipers, etc. Here's another one. Feds raid California home harboring Iranian nationals with terrorism ties. Yeah, that's a sleeper cell is what you would call that, really. Funny how they worded it, right? Location has been repeatedly used to harbor illegal entrants linked to terrorism. So, yeah, you're going to see a lot more of this. It's the world we're in right now. But look at this. Federal authorities arrested 130 Iranian nationals who were in the United States illegally in the week following the strikes against the nuclear. So with 670 Iranians currently being held in ICE detention centers. So they are rounding up. You're getting some big numbers here. Okay. And look at this. Like I mentioned, among those arrested was a man who served as a sniper in the Iranian military. Yeah. Just coming over here. He wants to live in the U.S. Yeah. All right. Now, this one is a little bit of salt to the wound, but the Senate rejects big, beautiful bill measure to remove illegal aliens from Medicaid. I just don't get it. If you keep, giving money to all of this, you are, they're not going to go anywhere, right? You got to shut off, the honeypot, folks. All right. Look at this. This includes mandatory minimum fee, $1,000 for anyone applying for asylum. Mandatory minimum, $100 to request continuance of immigration court. Well, that doesn't pay for much. Mandatory minimum fee of $250 to apply for diversity lottery and $400 to process diversity visa applications. These are costs associated with it, and a $5,000 bond for sponsors who of unaccompanied alien children. Language expanding expedited removal of criminal non-citizens. So, yeah, right. Excess nuclear missile funds used to modify Trump's new Air Force One. Yeah, remember they were given this 747-800 from Qatar, and this is. I guess they're going to take it off the Sentinel program to pay for it. It's funny how they can find money when they need it. Yeah, they just basically, a little racing here with the pencil. I bet everything is done in pencil probably or computer where they just remove and change it over. It's that cleanse structure, right? Whether it's 3-year money or 1-year money, there are cost line, numbers that. Called cleanse that are associated with each one of these buckets. It's different colors of money. It takes a lot to move something from one bucket to another. And so the fact that they're able to just find money and shift it, I don't know. But it also tells you what is going on with the current Air Force One. Why are they pushing so hard to get this other aircraft in? All right. Moving on, we'll look at the Bitdefender. Let that marinate for a second. This is basically, I talked about the cyber attack side. It's not just, people getting popped on your home computer stuff. You're talking about infrastructure, right? You're talking about comms, electricity and power stuff, right? So you can see it takes a little while to get this thing going. And then, here they come. You see the red shots from coming out of China, a lot of it into China, etc. So speaking of China, right, we talk about, I caught something yesterday. Let me take you over here to this. And I want to just show you this. I think this is spoofing. Because when I look at the flights, now this thing has got airspeed is 0, but I think what's happening is ADS-B is being hacked. Now you see the P1 right there next to it. That's actually a Japan airplane. I did see that over, I think it was Arizona the other day. I think the Japanese are kind of flying some mission stuff with U.S. forces. But the China piece, I think that is not a real aircraft. It is an AN-12. The Chinese haven't used that aircraft in a while. It's kind of an obsolete asset for them. But all of a sudden, this thing popped up and was sitting off the coast down near Baja, and I was like, holy smokes, I don't think I've ever seen something like that. It would be pretty, that'd be a big deal for them to fly that close. But again, we've seen this in the past. You may remember when we had the Afghanistan thing happening with the withdrawal. Somebody did this same thing, and they put Air Force One parked on the tarmac in Afghanistan, and I said, there's no way that that's real. So I'm thinking this may be a spoofing effort where they've come in and hacked the system and put that asset in just to see what the response is. Okay. All right. So look at, if I take it, in fact, I'll just show you the Chinese flights. It's not out there, right? This is the last 5 days. And so it would have been on there if that was the case, not seeing it. So I'll take you over to China itself. And it's been a little more active than what we've seen. A lot of flights out of Beijing headed down south, right? But, I've got nothing else, nothing around the Middle East, looking at Iran, seeing if they delivered some stuff. Okay, not really seeing it. But let's keep moving on here. Now, look at the United States, and you'll notice it's starting to get pretty filled up with NOTAMs. You got danger boxes left side of Florida, down here in the Gulf of America, up the East Coast as always. And then we got a lot of other things happening here, like this one, for example, in Des Moines. Let's see, VIP, so that's probably Trump's going to be headed that direction. And then you've got the mil ops happening. Look at Nebraska here, another O'Neill military operation. So military is kind of getting active out here all across the U.S. All right, let me hide that. I'll see back up if I see anything other than that catches my eye. Australia's got a lot of boxes that are popping up as well. A lot of these are going to be danger boxes. And I mean, look at Europe. It's just covered up, even around Iceland. So, all right, let's move on. Okay, UN watchdog, Iran could resume enriching uranium in months. Now, the reason I say that this kind of snaps you into the framework of this ceasefire not lasting super long, because the minute they begin to get this stuff going, they've already been in digging, trying to recover some of the uranium that was buried in the mountain that we took out at their facility. So Israel's not going to allow that. They're going to go in, they're going to strike them and take out that stuff. Israel's made the comment that they basically control the airspace over Iran. So pay attention to that piece. And then the last thing I want to show you before we bail here, I'm just going to show you the Russian activity. 5 days, very active. You may notice they're starting to push a lot of stuff out to their eastern flank. Okay, that's a lot of activity. I typically do not see that. So the Russians are starting to kind of pre-position themselves on that flank over towards Alaska to make sure, and of course, near Japan, which is a little concerning. You can see them kind of pushing it out along that the border there into the mountain ranges that go into all of the stands, all right? And then I'm looking at Iran. I don't really see anything going into Iran. I see something going in the Middle East, but very active. Istanbul, etc. This right here, nothing into Israel, which is very unusual because we typically see a lot of flight traffic going there. You'll see stuff headed down into Egypt, etc. And then look at all the flight patterns going into, Kaliningrad. So pretty active for 5 days with the Russians. All right. Oh, wait, let me back that up. My apologies. I got ahead of myself because I wasn't expecting that. Let me roll that over. And then, yeah, we saw that right. This is coming into the United States. That was the big thing. Okay. Yeah, look at this. So it looks like the Ruskies have traveled into Washington, D.C. quietly, probably trying to work something out ceasefire-wise, but it's just another data point for you, okay? All right, folks, listen, that's going to do it for our SITREP today. I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your Tuesday. Definitely stay vigilant. You see something, say something. You can go to the FBI.gov website. If you see something that looks a little squirrely and report it. You may think it's nothing, but remember, they are doing this collective activity, and they're taking data points from all around the country, and all of a sudden you start to see trends, and it helps them kind of figure out what the next event may be if there is something planned. So, all right, that's it. You guys be safe out there. Keep that powder dry. Stay frosty. We'll see you on Thursday. God bless. Monkey out.